Hi, welcome to this brand new podcast called Take It Easy with Doctor Shonpal. It's kind of like just chilling out, kicking back, relaxing, talking about all things health and wellness, because prevention is the cure. Hi, welcome to episode 3, entitled Why All We Know About Sleep is Wrong. Interesting title. So yes, we're going to talk about one of the most important things in our whole lives. We do it pretty much every day. A third of our life is run by sleep. That is sleep. So we're going to talk about what is it, why is it important, sleep hygiene, and then we're going to talk about why it may be wrong and what we should actually be doing to treat it. And at the end, we're going to be talking about it in relation to coronavirus, which is obviously quite important at the moment. And we'll end with a thought of the week. So yes, welcome again to myself, Doctor Shonpal. I am a lifestyle medicine enthusiast, and I really believe in the power of simple changes creating huge effects in our lives. And one of the fundamental foundations of my teachings that I advocate for patients is sleep. So sleep is one of the 5 pillars that I really think is very important. So I was working out the other day, how many patients have I seen? And I've seen over 10,000 patients easily, but I'm not sure how many, which is a huge number. So let's talk about this, sleep. Around 1 in 3 patients that I see in consultations have some element of sleep in it. So maybe they've got insomnia, maybe they've got some sleep issues, and it's quite a large number of people. And it's actually got a lot worse since the corona pandemic. There are actually 2 different types of insomnia. There is acute insomnia and chronic insomnia. With acute insomnia, that is not being able to sleep for around less than 3 weeks. And with chronic insomnia, that's defined as not being able to sleep for over 3 out of the 7 days in 3 months or more. If we're using the strict definition of insomnia, around 1 in 10 patients have chronic insomnia. But realistically, if we loosen that definition, it's actually around 3 to 4 in 10. So that's quite a larger number of people. What are the signs of poor sleep or poor sleep hygiene? Naturally, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. You frequently wake up at night and you have some daytime sleepiness, so you feel drowsy in the daytime. Those are the main things that you basically tossing and turning at night, not able to sleep. So the factors that impact sleep I found quite interesting. A study in Canadian population found that 24% of people aged 15 or above reported insomnia. And there were some patterns to that. Most of those people that were reporting it found that they were female, widowed or single. They had unemployment issues, they were smoking, they had life stresses naturally, had a low education or a low income. Interestingly enough, they didn't mention age, but age in other studies have shown that insomnia increases with age. Why is it important? Well, I mentioned this before, but sleep is important for our daily function. If you don't sleep, you don't function, you get angry, irritable, and so on and so forth. But it is really important that we also need to think about other causes of insomnia. It may not just be, I can't sleep, I'm worried about this or that. It could be some medical issues going on. So if you feel that's the case, you need to exclude other important serious pathologies, such as obstructive sleep apnea or narcolepsy. And you can potentially have a side effect of sleeping less or having insomnia by taking medication. In any case, no matter what the cause of your daytime sleepiness or drowsiness is, it's really important you don't drive or operate dangerous machinery when you're feeling sleepy. So the obvious question that a lot of people ask me and that gets Googled is, how much sleep do we need? The textbook definition, or the majority of us think, around 8 hours is good enough. But actually, a large-scale epidemiological studies have shown that sleeping around 7 hours per night is associated with the lowest risk of mortality compared to longer or shorter sleeps. However, we also have a caveat to that, and the caveat is that it's all individualized, that sleep is dependent on how much you need and how much your body needs. Some people can function on 5, some people function on 8 or 9, but it's a very individualized response. And if you're finding you're not sleeping in the daytime and you're not having problems sleeping at night, then that's not all good. but it always depends on you. So let's get back to sleep hygiene. It's a very buzzy word. What does it mean? Essentially, it's tips to provide you to enable you to sleep. What are some of those tips? Well, we'll just go through them briefly. Obviously, avoid any stimulants such as caffeine and nicotine. We advocate, and I tell patients as well, exercise in the daytime. That can promote good sleep. Studies have shown if you even exercise for 10 minutes a day, for example, you walk or you cycle, that can massively improve your sleep. If you get up early, get in the sunlight, that's great. You get lots of vitamin D. You can reset your circadian rhythm, that rhythm of your body to keep moving day and night. You should also steer clear of any heavy foods at night. So no more late night kebabs or McDonald's or whatever you guys like to eat, because it can cause heartburn. It can also increase your weight and doesn't really help you sleep. It's also very important to get a routine and ensure a very good sleep environment. That means great comfortable pillows and mattresses. Also black out your curtains. It's a very good tip. And my favorite tip is obviously my tip, which I obviously am a bit biased about, but it's called Unplug 60. And essentially it means that 60 minutes before you sleep to switch off all electronic devices. You're like, yeah, I switch off my phone, it's all good. But actually, think about it. Electronic devices are not just your phones, it could be smartwatches, it includes the TV. And why is that? Well, studies show that 9 in 10 of us use some form of technology before we sleep. Does it even make a difference? It does, because electronic devices emit the same wavelength of light as the morning sun, known as blue light. I'm sure you've heard of that magical phrase of blue light filters. Yes, blue light filters are important because they help to restrict the amount of blue light, and that makes your body think that it's awake. Because the blue light emitted by electronic devices, it reduces the production of a hormone called melatonin. That hormone melatonin actually controls our sleep-wake cycle. So reducing melatonin makes it harder to fall asleep and stay asleep. So my tip is Unplug 60. And it's my concept which promotes that if you 60 minutes before you sleep, switch off all your electronic devices. So disconnect from everything. Like I said before, that means laptops, TVs, phones, tablets, and like I said, your smartwatch. If it has a current, it's out. Better sleep is proven to reduce stress, improve effectiveness in all walks of life, and even make you look more attractive. Who doesn't want to look more attractive, right? Well, some of us do, some of us don't, right? COVID-19, we can always black out the screen. So those are some of the tips that we're talking about. But I really think Unplug 60 works great. But when patients come to see me and when patients realize it's a problem, generally it becomes more of a chronic insomnia type picture. That means that patients aren't sleeping for around 3 months or more. It doesn't mean you don't sleep every day. Some days you sleep really well, but at least 3 days out of the 7, you have the issue where you can't sleep. So really, sleep hygiene doesn't really work. Why is that? It's basically like you've got a plant. Oh, I love my plants. I've got quite a few plants in my office. I really like them. They kind of add a little brightness and coolness when my patients see me. Some of them comment that they like the green, and I like them too. So let's talk about, no more about plants. Let's talk about the real stuff. So using the analogy of a plant, with sleep hygiene, it's like you have a plant and you're just watering the leaves. But really what you should be doing is watering the roots. And that's why I found lifestyle medicine really, really, really important for myself. And why I like treating the cause and not just the peripheries. What's the problem with sleep hygiene? With sleep hygiene, it's great to give small tips and people can try and use them, but it doesn't really have an effective measure or really help people truly. If you want to help your sleep, you need to build up something called your sleep reserve. That means you need to retrain your brain. Just like you have to train a muscle to get it bigger, you need to retrain your brain to work in the right way to build up your sleep reserve. So with people who have sleep problems or chronic insomniacs, they have a problem with their sleep-wake cycle. So what they tend to do is they actually put a lot more importance on sleep, and not only that, they try and stay in bed longer. So they go to sleep earlier and they try and wake up later. They think if they stay in bed, that actually helps. They also try and sleep in the daytime. But this perpetuates the worsening of the sleep-wake cycle. So how do you break out of it? A couple of tips. Number 1, you make sure you wake up at a set time every day. You set that clock and you wake up, no matter how sleepy or how tired you are, because it's normal to feel tired or sleepy when you wake up. You have to get yourself up. Not only that, is that if you're feeling drowsy and a bit like, maybe I should sleep, maybe I shouldn't, then don't sleep. Only when you can't literally keep your eyes open do you actually go to sleep. And you should definitely not have any daytime naps. That means maybe you're playing on the computer or you're reading a book, you feel a bit sleepy in the daytime, and you think, maybe I'll have a quick snooze. But you shouldn't do that. Don't sleep. Daytime naps, no. The reason is, the longer you are awake, the more slow wave sleep you will have when you do sleep. What is slow wave sleep? Slow wave sleep is associated with feeling you have slept well and with feeling refreshed. The other thing that I would like to call is get the hell up. What does that mean? This is another tip. Insomniacs plan to sleep so everything is perfect. They think if I plan my sleep, then everything will be perfect. But what happens is, when you hit the bed, you're wide awake. Why is that? How can that be possible? What you've done is, you've retrained your brain. It's something called, the medical term is conditioned arousal. It's not as exciting as it sounds, but essentially what you've done is, your brain is now wired. So as soon as you hit that bed, your brain knows you're not going to go to sleep. You're actually going to be wide awake. So you're naturally wide awake. You can't go to sleep. Think of it like this. It's like, imagine your favorite donuts, Dunkin' Donuts. You eat them every day, you love them. And then as soon as you see them on the TV, you start salivating because your brain has been wired to associate that feeling of pleasure or that feeling of that gorgeous donut. Another quick tip for patients is, initially you'll find this quite difficult. So, you're going to plan to go to sleep at the same time, and so you wake up at the same time. But if, say, for example, you can't sleep after 30 minutes, if you can't sleep, then get up and do something else until you feel drowsy and literally feel that your eyes are closing, then you should go to sleep. But like I said, you need to wake up at the same time and get into the sunlight, rejuvenate your vitamin D. That's really important. Don't track 30 minutes or more. Just literally get up if you can't sleep and just carry on. And now we're going to talk about coronavirus, COVID-19, in relation to insomnia. Many patients are now talking about the difficulty they're having with sleeping, and it's becoming a much more prevalent problem around insomnia. Why is that? Well, I suppose I can talk about my own experience with my father sadly contracting coronavirus and still being in hospital after 3.5 months. There have been complications, and it has affected my own sleep. And it's a normal reaction if you're anxious or worried that you tend to sleep less, you're worried about what's going on. Not only that, I suppose a lot of people are suffering from financial issues. They're wondering how they're going to pay their bills, what's going to happen to them, their children or their partners. They can't maybe not see their family or friends. And it's very difficult if you're isolating from people to have that connection and that kind of solace in this difficult time. So these are why these issues are coming up. And it's a normal reaction. So it's important not to judge yourself or be upset about things. But there are a few tips that I'm going to give patients or people that are listening to this podcast. Number 1, really important. Imagine you're going to bed at night. You're like, I'll switch on the TV and have a look at the news. What's on the news? Oh, coronavirus again. Oh my God, this has happened, that has happened. That isn't a great idea, because what you're doing is you're causing more stress and more worry before you sleep. So don't turn off the news at night, and also avoid talking about any stressful things close to bedtime. If you're worried about things, try to distract your mind by thinking about something pleasant potentially. Another tip is focus on relaxation and not sleep. Sleep, when you're worried or upset, sleep doesn't solve anything. Instead, focus on relaxing. I've actually talked about it in another podcast. I will talk about it, about relaxation techniques that you can do. But one quick tip I can give you is that you can do a body scan. My patients really love it, where they focus on different body parts. I'll talk about it in another podcast, but you focus on each body part coming from your feet upwards. Imagine it contracting and then relaxing and then focusing on that. And what you do is you naturally draw your mind away from your mind and actually on your body, and you stop thinking or overthinking. Another thing which I mentioned is don't pressure yourself. From a previous podcast where I talked about stop chasing dreams, it's okay not to sleep. It's okay if you're having issues. We're all in the same situation. We're all having issues. But don't judge yourself. If you put more pressure on yourself, you're naturally not going to be able to sleep, and it's going to get worse. So just relax. As I say, obviously, take it easy. Another thing is nutrition is extremely important. Make sure you eat 3 meals a day. Don't snack in the daytime. That will help. And last but not least, alcohol. We think that alcohol will help us sleep, but it actually doesn't really help us sleep. What it does do is the reverse, because alcohol causes a diuretic effect where you want to go and pee. So you actually wake up earlier needing to use the bathroom and struggle to get back to sleep. Not only that, but you don't have very good quality deep sleep. So in conclusion, those were some tips that I talked about. We talked about sleep, the definition of it, how insomnia can affect everyone's life, how you have 2 types, acute and chronic. We also talked about sleep hygiene tips, including my favorite, no bias there, Unplug 60, as well as how potentially sleep hygiene may not be that effective. And I've given you other tips regarding chronic insomnia. And lastly, we talked about the relationship with COVID-19 and insomnia. For sleeping, I would definitely advise you to see a GP, and they can potentially try some short-term medication if you're really into it, such as melatonin, but the problem is it can be not effective in the long run. But studies have shown that if you see a psychologist, they can give you something called CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, where it changes your whole thought processes in relation to sleep. And it can be effective very quickly in helping you become better at sleep. So I hope you found this podcast super interesting. Please like, share, follow. You can find me on YouTube. Just type in Take It Easy with Doctor Shonpal. I'm on Instagram, Dr. Take It Easy, Facebook. I'd love to hear from you. Please write in. Please message me. Please let me know. This is on Spotify, iTunes, and every other good media outlet. And I'll leave you with a last thought by Buddha. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. The mind is everything. What we think, we become. And I will see you same time, same place next week. And as always, take it easy.